Well, as we suspected, Digimon Story Time Stranger Additional DLC Episode 3 releases this week. Actually, it releases tomorrow as of time of recording. Join me for a quick breakdown on the release date trailer and some hypothesis for what this means for the future of Digimon, especially Digimon Story Time Stranger now that we know this DLC is launching before Digimon Con at the end of the month. What is up, digital companions? My name is Karn EX and welcome back to another video. Today, Digimon Games Bandai Namco dropped the trailer, the release date trailer for the final DLC in this wave. Now, is this the final piece of DLC we're ever getting for Digimon Story Time Stranger? I'll talk about that later in the video. Also, if you haven't already, please do like and subscribe. I'm going to be streaming this DLC tomorrow, the second it drops, right here on YouTube. Just subscribe, you'll see it, and I'll see you there. So we get that more ominous opening we saw in the first trailer for this DLC, and the line Digimon Elimination Program, I think, from Monica Simmons. Omnimon X says that the X program can also be called the Digimon Elimination Program, which, yeah, tracks. That's what Yggdrasil was doing with it in a lot of iterations of the X-Antibody story, actually. Then we get a shot that I really like. Obviously, we have Ulforce Vudramon and Gallantmon X. At the top, we have Dorumon, Monica, Asuna, and the Agent, but defending Dorumon is a bunch of Tiger Vespamon. What you are seeing here is all X-Antibody Digimon. Some mutated by a reaction to the X program, and some natural carriers. Dorumon and Tiger Vespamon are natural carriers. Tiger Vespamon did not show up in the Digimon X Evolution movie, however, as we progress through this, you're going to see how this mirrors the X Evolution movie in a lot of ways, and I do believe whether it is Kuga or Yggdrasil, I doubt it's King Drasil in this instance. The Time Stranger version of King Drasil would be kind of weird to do this kind of thing, but the person that wants to use the X program in this instance is sending, I believe, Ulforce Vudramon X and Gallantmon X after Dorumon. We then see defeated Slayerdramon with Magnamon X and Jesmon X. As far as I know, Slayerdramon does not have any connection to the X-Antibody. It's not a natural carrier or anything like that. The only connection I can think of is that Slayerdramon can become Examon, which has its own X-Antibody form, but I wouldn't expect to be seeing Examon X-Antibody in this DLC anyway. Then we see 4 of the X-Antibody Royal Knights with Dorumon, Agent, Monica, and Asuna kind of walking towards them, and a dark door and a light door. Interesting, we haven't seen these inverted black doors, I don't believe, in this space. This might be leading up to more the end of the DLC. Then we get a showcase of the X-Antibody Royal Knight special moves. We get the lines, a fight between Digimon. There are too many Digimon in the world. Damn. Can't be helped that some aren't fit to survive. Is that coming from Dorumon? This one doesn't possess the X-Antibody. Not sure who they're talking about there. It could never hope to defeat us chosen Digimon. Then I think Dorumon saying, why can't we work together? And then we see the shot of Dorumon, the human characters, Omnimon X, Jesmon X, and Magnamon X, squaring up against Raidramon, Kuzuhamon, and Beowulfmon. Not entirely sure what the connection is here other than Beast Digimon. They could be considered counterparts to a couple of them, you know, Raidramon to Magnamon X, Kuzuhamon being a variant of Sequoiamon, just like Gallantmon X is a variant of Gallantmon. Beowulfmon, swords like Jesmon X? I don't know. Someone in the comments is going to let me know though. Then we see, of course, that Kuga is trying to steal this data. He has Gallantmon X and Ulforce Vudramon X flanking him. That's why I suspect he at least sent them after Dorumon, if isn't part of a greater plan and seems to want this X program data for his nefarious purposes. Monica straight up says, don't be an idiot to Kuga, which I think is hilarious.
Why is it that you have so much talent, yet refuse to use it for what's right?
Then, of course, Parallelmon has to appear and cause trouble. It is the overarching Parallelmon DLC, and it seems that Kuga is reaching out to this data even though Parallelmon's about to explode him with, I think, an absorbent bang. The Royal Knights line up again, all of them over the body, I think, of Kuga, and Dorumon races in with Omnimon X following behind. It seems Dorumon is hit by Parallelmon's attack, and on the brink of death begins to digivolve. This is like super spoilerific, honestly. I mean, all of these trailers have showed off a great deal of what we actually saw in the DLC. I don't know why they do this, but, you know, it's my job to cover it. The other X-Antibody Royal Knights gather around Dorumon as it begins to digivolve, and yeah, this is going to become Alphamon. I really would have liked to have seen something different here. I mean, maybe it'll become Dorugoromon or something like that, but I would not expect to see, like, a new form of Alphamon here. I would not expect to see Death Xmon that's not already in the game, you know? It's not impossible that things have deviated from the data mines, but I would just assume this is becoming Alphamon Alphamon, the X-Antibody natural carrier, joining its X-Antibody Royal Knights compatriots to take down Parallelmon and whatever other threat is going on. I would keep an eye on Bandai socials to get full confirmation of this. They'll probably post it at some point tomorrow, but my assumption for the evolutions that these X-Antibody Digimon are all going to be Mega Plus level in the game. On socials, they're treated as Mega level, but they also did that for Omnimon Merciful Mode, and it turned out to be a Mega Plus, which still Digivolved from Omnimon. If you're looking to prepare Digimon for this DLC, I would say just get Omnimon, Jessmon, Magnamon, Ulforce Vidramon, and Gallantmon. Wouldn't expect a ton of variation here. I'd be very happily surprised if they did do something different though, but so far the DLC evolutions have been very predictable, besides really Bancho Golemon and Parallelmon itself, although I predicted that one too. As for release timing, this comes out, like I say, tomorrow in my time zone at 11 PM UK time. That's going to be like 4 PM PDT, and I think 7 PM EST, EDT on the East Coast. So I will be streaming it, like I said at the start, and of course you can check that out if you've got it. We still don't know how this is going to manifest for the Switch version. I have seen some people saying, oh, well, for Sparking Zero, when the game came out on Switch, they still staggered the DLC releases. However, Sparking Zero has a competitive scene, and Time Stranger has purely single player. I would not expect there would be a need to delay the DLC. It's not impossible, but my assumption is on July 10th, when Time Stranger launches on Switch and Switch 2, if you buy a version of the game or buy the Season Pass that accesses this DLC, you will be able to play all 3 DLC and have access to the 16 new Digimon from RIP. However, like I said in the intro, that does mean this DLC will all be done by March 12th, depending on your time zone. And Digimon Con is 10 days after that. Now, sure, this could mean absolutely nothing. I am purely spitballing here. However, it is a good sign to me that the DLC is all going to be out, and I've said this before, if Ageomon is still in the art for Digimon Con. Now, the Switch and Switch 2 release does dampen the likelihood of there being more content revealed. However, I just have a good feeling. Whether or not we get a whole new DLC for Time Stranger, we know we are getting new updates, like the performance mode adjustments and quality mode adjustments for the console version and the Switch and Switch 2 version. So PS5, Xbox, and Switch 2 version can all enjoy either 1080-60 or 4K30. Will they add more quality of life updates? From the success of Resident Evil Requiem, we've just seen that they've shared, obviously they're going to do a new DLC, but also that they're doing things like photo mode, etc., just being added as free updates. Obviously, Resident Evil Requiem is Capcom, not Bandai Namco, but this is an example of a single-player game that has done very well in its genre that is still getting support after release, and I hope that Bandai Namco would look at the industry and do similar. If Time Stranger is not going to get a DLC too, I hope at least we can get things like photo mode, small little quality of life updates, things like that for free, rather than these waves of DLC, but I do think it's quite likely. Besides the Switch and Switch 2 release, we do have more Time Stranger coming up. BT26 of the card game is called Timeless Bonds, and pre-release isn't until August. Now, sure, they could have delayed the set out just to have more Time Stranger, and obviously Time Stranger launches on Switch, so a month after, kind of makes sense, but it's still very much the year of Time Stranger, and with Ageomon on there, on that Digimon Con art, with Gemmon and Gekomon, I'm praying, man, for something. However, if they do more DLC, I'm really hoping they switch things up a little bit, because I don't think I'd be as excited for 3 more waves of exactly this same thing. But next year is also the 30th anniversary of Digimon, so if this is a bit of a quieter year, just Elysian, the last DLC, Switch ports, etc., I won't be too mad at that, because I'm hoping that they'll be pushing forward and putting a new game out in 2027, though who knows if that's actually true. I think it'd be silly for them not to at least announce the 30th anniversary game at the 30th anniversary Digimon Con next year and maybe release it in 2028, but hopefully 2027 we'll get a new game of some variety, world, story, survive, whatever. Thank you to my sovereigns, ZDK14, Chaotic Prophet, Lupus Lichlord, and Jeremy Babineau over on patreon.com/Karn EX, and my YouTube channel members here on YouTube for holding it down. You guys are amazing. Can't wait to see you at the stream tomorrow. Very excited to wrap up this season pass, and I'll see you next time when we go digital. Bye bye.